Hi everyone, I'm Hayley from Planet Ark, and as part of National Recycling Week this year, we've put together a very special lesson on recycling a school. With me today is my friend Nick. Give everyone a wave, Nick.
Hi everyone.
All right, before we jump into it, I'm on Gundagara land today,
And I'm on Gadigal land.
and we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we live and work. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water, community, pay respects to elders past, present, emerging, and anyone here today. So who are we? Well, Nick and I are from Planet Ark, and we run the Schools Recycle Right Challenge as part of our National Recycling Week's programs. Planet Ark was established back in 1992, which may be a long time ago for some of you and not so long ago for others, but we're an Australian non-for-profit organisation that helps individuals, communities, governments, businesses and schools reduce their impact on the environment. We are one of Australia's leading environmental behaviour change organisations with a focus on working collaboratively and positively. Our partners today are Bingo. You may have seen their skip bins around the place. Bingo is one of Australia's leading recycling and waste management companies. They have operations across the east of Australia and are pushing for a waste-free Australia with a focus on diverting valuable waste materials away from landfill. To start off, I want everyone to have a look around your classroom or the room that you're in now. What different materials or objects can you see? So look at the ceiling, look at the walls, at the windows, the furniture, the floor. Nick, what sorts of things can you see?
Let's see. Well, I can see the wood on my desk, made out of my desk. I can see metal from the blinds on my window. What about you, Hayley? Is there anything you can see around in your area? What materials are in your home?
I can see paper, I
Hmm?
can see glass, I can see wood as well. I can see metals and plastic on my computer. What else can you see? We'll give
Hmm.
you 10 more seconds. All right. There are lots of materials that go into making a school. We have metal, maybe in their fans, maybe in light globes, the glass from the light globes and windows. We have concrete, we have bricks, we have tiles, we have soil outside, we have books, we have wood, we have plastic and metals in our computers, our tables and our chairs. We may have bags and toys around the place, and they're usually made of something called polyester, which is actually kind of plastic. You may have noticed pencils and notepads, and they're made from trees as well. So where do these materials come from? I'm going to read a series of clues that relate to natural resources that we use to create these materials. When you agree on what you think this material is, I want you to give your answer to your teacher. Resource number 1. This resource is grown. It is a renewable resource, but we still need to be wise and not waste it. It is used to construct buildings and furniture, amongst many other things. What do you think this could be?
Hmm.
Let's give everyone 30 seconds. Something else it can be is paper.
Yeah, it can be used to make paper.
Can you think of
Mhm.
anything else, Nick? What else could we use this to make?
What else can this be? We've got paper, we've got furniture. It could also be used for some toys. You might find some toys are made out of this material as well. Um, Building blocks, for instance. Might
Yep,
even have some in your classroom.
maybe playground equipment
Playground equipment,
sometimes.
sometimes, yeah.
Let's give
Um,
people 5 more seconds.
yeah. As a hint, if you look out the window, you might also be able to see a few of these in the playground.
Ah, big clue. Our answer, hope you guessed it, timber. But if you said wood or trees, that's the same. So well done. Timber, wood, or trees. Excellent. Let's look at resource number 2. This resource can be found at the beach or in the desert. It is used to make glass and silicone. We call mounds and hills of this resource dunes. And it is a non-renewable resource. Do you think this one's a tricky one, Nick?
Yeah, I think so. It's a little tricky. I don't know. It's clear like glass. Maybe not.
It's not clear when we get it, but we can use it to make glass. We can make it clear through refining.
Wow. Very interesting.
All right. Everyone tell your teachers.
Remember to put your hands up.
3, 2, 1. Did you guess what it was, Nick?
Was it sand?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It was.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Resource number 2 is sand, which we mine from different parts of the earth. All right. Resource number 3. This resource is drilled up from under the ocean floor or sometimes from land. It is a liquid. It is black-brown in color. And we use this resource to make plastic. It's a non-renewable resource. And if you're a little bit confused, non-renewable means that it's finite, or once we run out, it's gone forever. We can't make more of these. So if we think about trees being renewable, it's because we can grow more trees from seeds. But once we run out of something like oil, it's gone forever. It's a black-brown color. It's a liquid. And we use this to make plastic. Do you think anyone's going to get this, Nick?
I don't think so. I think some of them might be a bit smarter out there.
All right, lock your answers in. This natural resource starts with an O. It is oil.
Ooh.
So well done if whoever got this correct, because it's a bit tricky. You may have said something like petroleum. Petroleum is actually a product we get from oil as we refine it. And as we refine oil to use and turn into petroleum, we also get the stuff that makes plastic or synthetic plastic. It's made from oil.
I always thought oil came from olives.
No, that's a different kind of oil. All right, so it's nothing like cooking oil.
Okay.
All right, our next resource number 4. This resource is mined from open pits, usually, or from under the ground. It is strong when dry and can be molded when wet. So it's easy to manipulate when it's wet, but once it's dry, it's very strong. It is usually a reddy brown color, but it can be different. And it is dried and fired into the product we use. If you know what goes in a kiln, you'll know the answer. This is also a non-renewable resource. Any ideas, Nick?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of ideas. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but would it happen to be something you can use during art class or make arts and craft?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think most people would have played with this. It's pretty fun.
think I've been able to dig some up in my own backyard every now and then when I was
Yeah.
little. Used to
Yeah.
play with it there too.
It depends where you live.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Alrighty. Got your answers in? Let's go. It's clay.
Yes.
Well done, everyone who got that correct. All right. Our next resource, this is the last one. Resource number 5. It's the last one in our quiz, but there are lots of other resources in the world. Resource number 5. This resource is also mined from under the ground, usually as an ore, O-R-E. It is smelted and melted before we use it. It can be used to make cans, like food cans, and beverage containers, like fizzy drink cans, as well as building materials. It is a non-renewable resource. Nick, can you think of other things that we can make out of this resource?
We can make some furniture out of it, the really hard furniture.
Yep.
Um,
What about stop signs?
yeah, stop signs and signposts we can make out of this material as well. Fence posts, fence and fences we can make
Yep.
out of this as well.
Aeroplanes?
Aeroplanes,
Bike
cars,
cars?
trucks. You can make a whole lot of things out of this one. So
Too many.
yeah, everyone should be familiar with this one, I think.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Answers in. It's metals. So you may have said iron, you may have said aluminium. These are all different kinds of metals. Well done to everyone. Did anyone get these all correct, I wonder? Be pretty impressed if they did. How do we get these resources? They don't just magically appear. They all have to come from somewhere. How do we get clay? We talked a little bit about it. We talked a little bit about how we get our oil. And we talked about how we get timber. So if you had to use one word to sum up where we get all of our natural resources, what would you use? I'd say nature. We get everything from nature or the earth. Some we grow and clear, some we mine, and some we drill. It takes a lot of energy and water to extract these resources. We need to think about all of the trucks that are used, all of the machinery that's used, all of the transport that's used, and also the people who do this. They need to eat and they need to have houses as well. So we take all of these resources, we mine them up, we grow them, we clear them, then we ship them around the world, and not necessarily to your doorstep. Usually they have to go to a factory to be processed into materials. So we have our glass made from silicon. We have our extracted iron from iron ore, some timber, concrete, bricks, dirt is a resource as well, soil. And this weird white stuff, that's actually plastic. So that's like raw plastic. These items then need to be turned, these materials, sorry, then need to be turned into items we use every single day in different factories. And then finally, some of them are shipped to Australia for us to use. It's a huge journey. So with this journey and all the processing that has happened, or the energy and water used in mind, we need to be wise about how we use and then dispose of materials when we don't need them anymore. Many resources are non-renewable, like we talked about, which means when they run out, we cannot make any more. So how could we recycle a school? Or could we actually recycle a school? Thinking about all of the tiles and the bricks and things like that. Well, our friends at Bingo have an answer for that? Let's have a look. Alrighty. So there are lots of things that can go in a proper bingo skip bin. There are also things that can't go in. If a building or playgrounds need to be replaced, they need to be torn down. If it gets old and needs to be updated, sometimes the builder has to demolish all or part of the site before they rebuild. These building materials can actually be recycled. Let's have a look at how they do this. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope everyone noticed that all of those materials, they had to go through a really vigorous sorting process. There were people involved, there was machinery involved, it was screened, and then it was crushed up or processed into something new.
Yeah. And once it was done, it went back to be used again.
Yeah, on building sites as well. So it's a nice little cycle there. So instead of wasted materials to landfill, we now have mulch, aggregate, which is a funny word, and sand or road base. So mulch is used in gardens, usually on top of the soil to help retain moisture or water, add organic or living matter to the soil and keep weeds down. Aggregate is like a brick concrete. It's crushed to different sizes or specs and used for different purposes. It could be used as bedding materials for sewers and water pipes, drainage material, or for decorated pathways. Now, road base, that's the stuff, if you've ever seen a road being constructed, you'll notice they sort of dig up the earth a little bit and then they put a base down before that bitumen, before that black tarry stuff goes on top. So from what was waste, we now have gardens, roads, and buildings. Take a look around your school or have a think. Where do you think these sorts of eco products could be used again in your school? Where would you use them at home, do you reckon, Nick?
Well, let's see. Well, mulch, first of all, would go into my garden, and that way I would make sure that the plants can thrive without any weeds. The aggregates, the aggregates could be used either when we need to get the footpath resurfaced outside the front of the house, just so no one trips on all the cracks, or the same with any pathway that we have around the house as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
road base
Yeah,
could be used for the
road.
road. That's not my house. I don't do that part, but I
No.
have seen it happen before.
Yeah. So we can't do all of this stuff. It's really cool that builders and construction workers can recycle old torn down buildings and things like that. We need to think about what we can actually do every single day as well. How can we reduce and reuse every day? And just before we get confused and start talking about recycling, Nick, would you like to define what the word reduce means?
Yeah, of course. So when we talk about reduce when it comes to waste and rubbish and the things that we use, it's all about limiting or using less of resources and materials that might end up in the bin. So when we reduce our impact on the environment, we're reducing things, we're reducing the amount of product we end up throwing away. So
Yeah.
we're choosing things that don't use as much packaging or we cut certain things out of the process so they don't end up in landfill in the end.
Yeah, so reducing is something that we do at the supermarket or at the shops. When we go to buy a product or food, we think about the packaging around it. We think about whether there's an alternative, or we think about if it's something like a toy, do we actually really need it, or does what we have already suffice? Do we really need to replace that thing? Or are we just being a little bit too eager to buy something new? And what about reusing? Can you define that for us, Nick?
Yeah, reusing is reusing is pretty much when we
Reuse.
reuse it. Yeah, when we reuse it. It's instead of using a single use option like a plastic bag, and we're choosing a material like fabric or canvas to make tote bags that can be used multiple times before they need to be thrown away or washed or anything like that. So it's using a version that is strong and durable that can be used multiple times as opposed to just once.
Yeah, again and again and again.
And again and again and again.
Again
Yeah.
and again. So we don't have so much waste. So think about how you could reduce and reuse every single day. I like to do a few things and we'll go through some item swaps. Now, number one is definitely more for adults and teachers. So we're looking at those disposable coffee cups. So instead of getting a disposable coffee cup every time someone gets a coffee or a hot chocolate, taking their own reusable cup to the cafe, that means we can reuse that cup again and again and again. Because Nick, can we put those disposable coffee cups in our yellow recycling bins?
No, actually, we can't. It's a bit of a surprise for some people because they do look and feel like they're made out of paper, and paper can be easily recycled. But the takeaway coffee cups, the single-use coffee cups, actually have a plastic lining in the middle of them, and that makes it hard for the recyclers to recycle them. So they actually have to go into our landfill or our general waste bins instead, which isn't very good because we're not making the most of those resources. That's
No.
why the reusable option is the better option.
For sure. And if we think back to what plastic is made from and what paper is made from, it's such a huge journey for someone just to have a cup of coffee and
And
then
then
never
throw it
use it
away.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number two, we have, and I hope everyone has a reusable drink bottle in their lunchbox. So swapping single-use bottles for reusable bottles is great. And look, I know sometimes we forget and we need to drink for our health. So picking up a water bottle every now and then is okay. Or a juice bottle, because we can't, pour juice from our taps either. So we can reduce the amount of plastic we have for juice bottles by buying bigger juice bottles instead of things like poppers and pouring out that juice into glasses or reusable bottles. And we'll talk about how we recycle these items a little bit later. Number three is swapping napkins. So, those serviettes, those paper napkins for cloth napkins if you can. This is more at home. Number four, Nick talked a bit about this. So swapping single-use plastic bags or even those strong bags you get at the supermarket now for your own canvas bag that can be used over and over and over again. Or if you have a strong plastic bag at home, use it over and over and over again. Number 5 and 6, so swapping like single-use Glad wrap or Ziploc bags for lunchboxes. So lunchboxes are really cool these days. They have handy little pockets for everything to go in, and you don't actually need that Glad wrap or cling wrap bag, Ziploc bag. If you do need something to cover it in, beeswax wraps are a really good alternative. It's just cloth and beeswax. And you can wipe them down and use them over and over and over and over again. So let's think about recycling now. So I'd like everyone to think about how they can recycle every day. Now, as we saw in the video, recycling, it means we're taking things away. They go to a sorting centre. We use machines and we use people to sort different items and materials into different categories. Then they're taken away and processed into new items, brand new items. So it takes a lot more energy than just reusing. Is there anything you wanted to add about recycling, Nick? Or can you think about how you could recycle at home or school?
Yeah, I guess how we can recycle at home or school. The main thing that I do is there's my paper. Paper is one of the big things that I do. If I have to use it for drawing or for writing occasionally, when I'm done with that paper and it doesn't need to be used anymore, that goes into my recycling. But paper is also a good example for reduction because sometimes we can just do things on our computers or on our screens. We don't need to write them down, so we don't need to use paper in the first place. So when we have that option, that's a good way to reduce the amount of materials that we need in the first place.
Awesome. I hope everyone has some great examples if you have them written down, if you've told your teacher. So at school, paper and cardboard is a big one. Like Nick said, reducing the amount of paper that you use is excellent. I know a lot of classrooms also have like a reuse paper box. So when you've used one side of the paper, someone else can flip it over and use the other side. In your office, you can get, or in the staff room, you can get printer cartridge boxes. Well, you can actually get those from Planet Arc. Are they free for schools, Nick?
Yeah, they are free for schools. So all you need to do is just register for the box and Planet Arc sends it out to you for free. And then once you fill it up, we also collect it for free. You just got to get in contact and we take care of the rest.
Too easy.
Yeah, it's a great way to even if we do have to print, make sure that the materials we use to print get recycled as well.
Yeah, I know teachers still have to print. They still have to
Yes.
use paper. Yeah, for sure. All right. A lot of schools also have CDS fundraising. So CDS is just the big term that means Container Deposit Scheme. So in New South Wales, we call that Return and Earn. In Queensland, it's Cash for
Containers for change.
Containers for Change. Thank you very much. I'm not sure where Cash for Cans comes from, but it's somewhere else as
That's
well.
the thing. They do have a lot of different names in each state. So, but I think one thing to point out is that pretty much every state and territory in Australia now has a Containers for Change scheme. So, or
Yeah.
a CDS scheme. So it's a good way to make recycling a bit of fun and you can get some pocket money out of it as well.
Yeah. Or you could fundraise for schools'
Yes.
equipment, or you could fundraise for a cause that you believe in, send the money to people in need or animals in need. Some schools do also have what we call commingled recycling. So commingled means it's mingled all together. So those are those bins. They're usually yellow where you can put paper and cardboard, hard plastic bottles, cans, all things like that all in together. A lot of schools I do know don't have commingled recycling. So if you have something in your lunchbox or you buy it from the canteen and there's no way to recycle it at school, pop it back in your lunchbox, in your bag, and take it home and recycle it there. At home we can recycle lots of different things. And I'm talking about your curbside recycling bin, okay? So a lot of people have a yellow lidded bin. Some people have a yellow bin and a blue bin. Some people have a yellow bin, a blue bin, and a purple bin. It really depends on where you live because your local council are the people who sort out your recycling for you. So general rule, most recycling accepts hard plastic containers and bottles. Glass jars. Now remember, all of your recycling should be empty and reasonably clean. It's paper and cardboard, steel and aluminium cans, so like food cans and fizzy drink cans, and some areas also accept cartons. So those are like milk cartons or juice poppers. You just have to check with your local council. A lot of people are confused about what can go into their curbside recycling bin. Luckily, we have some new labeling that you may have seen pop up before. This is called the Australasian Recycling Label. So I might actually get Nick to explain a bit about the Australasian Recycling Label because it's such a long name. We call it the ARL.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Ali. So yeah, the ARL is meant to take the confusion out of recycling, and it does that by breaking down each bit of packaging into an easy to separate system. So as we can see here, we have three different types of labels that you might see on a piece of packaging. Now, starting from the left, when you see the arrows that are solid filled in, that means that item can go straight into your curbside recycling bin, whether that be yellow or whatever color it may be. So that one's really easy. On the right then, that one has an image of a garbage bin. And that one just says that one can't be recycled, unfortunately, but to make sure it doesn't end up as litter, it needs to go into your red lidded bin for some people, or just your general waste curbside bin. The middle one is a bit more tricky. It's similar to the first one because it has those three arrows, but this one is only outlined. It's not colored in. And when it's not colored in, that means you need to follow a couple of extra steps before the item can be recycled. On this one here, it says leave attached. So we always read the instructions at the bottom of this label because that tells you how something can be recycled. So for this container, you need to keep the lid attached to the tub, and that way it can go into the recycling bin without becoming an issue. So that way when we check it before we chuck it, we can make sure that it's all recycled correctly and those resources can be used for something new. So remember to check it before you chuck it, and that way you can recycle right.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. It's just a really easy way of separating the different components of packaging so we can understand what can be recycled, how we need to recycle it, and if it just needs to go into the landfill bin. Because a lot of people put things into their recycling bin because they want it to be recycled, but that's no good. That's what we call wish cycling. If the system hasn't been set up to recycle soft plastic, it's just going to end up in landfill, or worse, it could contaminate some of the great recycling already in the yellow bin. So remember to check it before you chuck it. We can also drop off some items for recycling. So these are items that we cannot put in our bins at home, or our yellow bin especially, but we can drop them off at different places so they can be taken apart and their components recycled. Mobile phones, they can be dropped off, or you can use mobile muster. Electronic waste or e-waste, you'll find your council has special drop-off days. You'll find places like some businesses like Officeworks also have a drop-off section for those. And batteries, I think a lot of people drop those off at supermarkets. And coffee pods can also be dropped off as well. Now, your school can look into becoming a drop-off point for these items. At Planet Ark, we do batteries, don't we, Nick?
Yes, we do. So yeah, we do batteries and cartridges. That's one of the things that we do. But yeah, lots of businesses now are setting up drop-off locations, including businesses as well as councils and public-facing locations like public libraries. And that way, yeah, it makes recycling options more easy and convenient for us to use.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You can recycle so many things. Just remember they don't all go in the yellow bin. So we hope you've enjoyed our lesson. We hope you have a great recycling week. Happy recycling. If you'd like to find out more, you can head to nationalrecyclingweek.com.au and our partners are bingoindustries.com.au. Did you have anything else to add, Nick?
No, I think covered quite a lot there today, and I'm sure we've had a lot of people. There's a lot of good questions coming through the classrooms there. So if any of your students or the classes do have questions, they can feel free to send it through to us at Planet Ark, or check out our website for all of those answers, because we're more than happy to help make sure that everyone recycles correctly and has a good impact on the environment.
Definitely. We're here to help. That's
Yeah,
what we do.
yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day and happy recycling.